Joker is a film that could have very easily been called Justified, or maybe even The Punisher. It's about a man who suffers some mental disorders who decides to unleash some vigilante justice towards society. You could very easily draw parallels between Joker and Batman, except most iterations of Batman have him not wanting to ever kill anyone, and he just wants to lock up the criminals, where Joker, he kills people. That is the only punishment that he's giving out, which is a far greater punishment than perhaps a lot of the crimes, if they are in fact crimes, deserve. And in a small way, the film does highlight the issues with someone being a vigilante, being the judge, the jury, and the executioner. Now, having said that, the vigilante aspects are a very minor part of the movie later on in the film. Most of the film is a character study looking at Joker. It looks at the mental health problems he's got. He's suffering from depression. He laughs when he doesn't mean to laugh, when he doesn't find something funny. That's his main thing. People think he's laughing at them, where he's just nervous and doesn't know how to react. And he also has some delusions. He sees things that don't necessarily happen. His mother has mental health problems of her own. He lives with her to look after her. He works as a clown, which explains why he's got the clown makeup on, and that's obviously a very low-paying job. So it delves really through his life, and one of the best words I saw on some headlines I saw, or maybe on an article somewhere, I didn't read the article, didn't want to get spoiled, but I saw this word pop up a few times online just when I wasn't looking for it, was slow burn. So slow burn seemed to be a word I saw a few times, and that does describe the film very well. Now, depending on whether you want to be kind or not, another word you could use is boring. So depending on what kind of films you like, if you like something that's quick-paced, boring would be the right word to use. If you want something that gives the character time to develop and go through everything at maybe a correct pace, slow burn, that's a really good way to describe things. Now, I would say that the genre this film falls in is drama, but drama really seems to just be a none-of-the-above category. It's if you're not a comedy and if you're not an action, you put it into drama. So it's not very descriptive. So I looked at IMDb to see what do they actually list it as, what genres do they have Joker as, and they say it is a crime drama thriller. So I think that's a pretty good way to describe what this film is. Drama, again, it's not very descriptive, doesn't help you to know what's exactly going to go on the film. Now, I did click on their link to thriller to see what other films are they describing as a thriller, because it's a genre that's used quite widely. It's used all over the place, and does it really mean anything other than it's a drama that's not boring? I mean, that's how I would generally use it. It's a thriller, it's not a drama. So if we look at IMDb, they do have the number one thriller listed as Joker. I don't know what they're ranking them based on, but they have these ones also in their list. They've got the number 9th thriller, again, I don't know what that's based on, Rambo Last Blood. They've got The Walking Dead at number 10, and Doom Annihilation at number 11. So I haven't seen Doom Annihilation, maybe it's fantastic, but they're also being listed by IMDb as thrillers, so I don't think that's a very apt description for Joker if it's put in the company of these three films. If we look at the always reliable and trustworthy Wikipedia, it says thriller is a genre of fiction having numerous, often overlapping subgenres. Thrillers are characterized and defined by the moods they elicit, giving viewers heightened feelings of suspense, excitement, surprise, anticipation, and anxiety. I could see some people feeling heightened, perhaps anxiety towards Joker, so yeah, maybe thriller is a good way to describe it. So crime action thriller, crime drama thriller, that does seem like an apt description of this film. So as far as being a crime drama thriller goes, this is an excellent example of it, and I would highly recommend this film to anyone that likes those types of films. I personally don't like those types of films, and I didn't like this film, but I wasn't disappointed with the film because I had a feeling that that's what it was going to be going in. So what little I'd heard about it, particularly that it could win an Oscar, I was prepared for it to be this, and the word slow burn and so on in articles or in article headlines. So I wasn't disappointed. I got what I expected, really. Where I was surprised was the lack of violence. I'd heard that it has a shocking amount of violence in it. It's shocking. It wasn't. There was very, very, very little violence in the film. So from that point of view, I perhaps was shocked at the lack of violence because of the uproar that I'd seen or thought I'd seen online. Again, without reading into the things, but just seeing things pop up, because again, I didn't want to get spoiled. It looked to me like this was going to have a lot of violence in it. It doesn't. It's got very, very, very little amount of violence. So again, it's not the kind of film that I like, and I didn't like this film. It's as simple as that. Just because of the type of film that it is. The actual performance is excellent. I could see him very easily winning an Oscar. The film itself, again, it's sort of a look at depression. It's a look at some of the forces on society right now. Those kind of films win Oscars, and again, it's not the kind of film that I would call entertaining. I probably won't ever watch the film a second time. Okay, I don't feel disappointed that I did see it. Again, it's quite online of what I thought it would be, so I didn't leave going, oh wow, I didn't think this was what it was, I'm disappointed. It just isn't the type of film that I like. On IMDb, it says it got an R rating in the North American market. It said it was for strong bloody violence, disturbing behaviour, language, and brief sexual images. I don't even remember brief sexual images being in there, and to give an R rating for something I don't remember is a bit strange. Language, yeah, it's got some strong language in there. Disturbing behaviour, I don't even know what that means. I mean, isn't Thanos displaying disturbing behavior in the Avengers movie? Shouldn't that have an R rating if disturbing behavior gives you R ratings? So I'm not even sure what that means. Strong bloody violence, I would disagree with that. There is one scene, there is one point in time that there's a bit of blood, and that is it, and it's not strong at all. But nonetheless, it has an R rating in the North American market. Here in Australia, it got an MA rating, which is a 15 years or above rating, and it said it got that for strong violence. So I think 15 is a much better age limit than R rating. It's possible the film I saw was cut down. I doubt it. They don't really do that much here. They'll just probably slap on an R rating over here if they think it should get an 18 plus rating. But it's possible that what I saw isn't the same film, and so I didn't see the strong violence because it was cut out. That's maybe a possibility. And interestingly enough, here down the bottom of this page here, this is the Hoyts Cinema webpage, big cinema chain in Australia. They're saying Terminator 2 Judgment Day's coming back out. It's out right now, so I didn't know that's getting re-released. I haven't heard anything about that. But seemingly, because I've clicked on Joker, I may also like Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which I disagree with. I don't think Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Joker have anything to do with each other, but I wasn't aware that it was being re-released. So I'll get into the story a little bit. Don't really want to spoil everything that happens, but there's not much you can talk about here without giving away some stuff. So spoilers ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. Well, I did talk about it a little bit. You may already be spoiled with what I've already mentioned. But spoilers from here on out. So basically, Joker, said at the start, you could really call this film justified, or at least the way that I view it. He's a vigilante who's attacking people he believes has wronged himself. And I say he believes, the film makes it very clear that he's been wronged, but the film also shows that he has delusions. So he makes up in his mind having a relationship with a woman in his building, which doesn't actually happen. And so it's very plausible that he's also made up people picking on him and beating him up. Now, I'm not saying that there's any real evidence in the movie of that, but because he is delusional, it's possible that he imagines people beating him up and then he shoots them, whereas in reality, they've done nothing at all. Again, there's nothing in the film to clearly show that, not even clearly, to even slightly ambiguously show that that's happened. But because he's suffering from a mental condition, and it does show very clearly that part of his mental condition is he hallucinated a sexual relationship with a woman, which in no way he had, he may very well be hallucinating all the violence that's happening to him and all the things that are happening to him. And when I was watching it, the other film I was thinking of, which in no way is similar but just has a general tone to it, was American Psycho, which interestingly enough has Batman in it, has Christian Bale in it. American Psycho is a film that I would highly recommend, and I do think it's a good film, unlike this film. But the whole premise of American Psycho is he may not have killed anyone at all. He might just be crazy, and he's imagining that he's been murdering these people because the way he murders them and kills them gets crazier and crazier and more unbelievable. Well, in this, Joker may not actually have any crimes committed against him, but he's nonetheless shooting people. Again, it's not in there even in a subtle way, but it's a possibility. If we look past that possibility and just take what happens in the movie as what actually is happening, it's not his hallucination, well, he basically gets beaten up by some kids. They steal his sign. He's advertising for a business, and they smack him over the head with the sign. They break the sign. They beat him up, and no real fault of his own. But then his boss says that, he's run away and stole the sign. They want the sign back. And he says, oh, I got beaten up on the job. And his boss basically giving him a hard time, saying, look, if you didn't get beaten up on the job, you stole the sign, just give us the sign back. You're on your last, legs here and so on. One of his co-workers, quite strangely, says to him, you need to learn how to, defend yourself. Here's a gun. So here's a co-worker, another clown. They're all clowns. A clown tells him, here's a handgun, and he gives him a pistol, and I didn't get a good look at it. I think it's a six-shooter, but he gives him a pistol, and he then has a gun on him. So that's really the start of the problems, is that this guy with mental health issues is given a gun by a guy you can't describe as a friend. He's just a co-worker, and in fact, I'd say the guy doesn't like him, and he's perhaps trying to sabotage him to get him out of the clown business, perhaps. But he gives him a gun, and it's a loaded, working gun. Now, at the same time, he sees a counselor or a psychologist that's from the state or from the city, and this is the person who, listens to the problems he's having, listens to the depression he's going through, and so on. And this is the person that prescribes him his medication. Well, she tells him that they're cutting funding, she's lost a job, and he can no longer come here. So he's suffering from these mental problems. He has medication that he's on, and he's now been taken out of the situation of having a counselor or a psychologist because the city's austerity programs, they're chopping off services, the frontline services have been cut back. Very sort of contemporary in a lot of places around the world right now. Although taxes are going up, the money doesn't seem to go to frontline services, seems to go to buddies of the governments. Anyway, he then can't get his medication, and so that also describes his delve into this vigilantism. He's then beaten up by three people on a train. The three people in the train are probably drunk. Or maybe not, maybe they're on cocaine. They're all wearing suits. They're just supposed to look like rich bankers. They throw chips or French fries at a girl on the train, so they're acting like idiots. They're made up to be, these guys are not good guys. He starts laughing at them because that's part of his mental condition. He's not really laughing at them as such. They think he's laughing at them. They decide to beat him up. So they're 3-on-1. They smack him on the ground. They start kicking him now. Now, at this point in time, it's fairly believable to think they could have kicked him to death. He has the gun on him. He shoots two of them, and they die. At that point in time, I would say that was fairly justified. He's very skinny. He's a very little guy. He was on the ground already, 3-on-1, and he shot two of them to perhaps stop him being killed. Again, it's possible that this was all a hallucination and no one attacked him. But putting that aside, the movie shows three people kick him, perhaps trying to kick him to death. So he's defended himself, I think, in a justifiable manner, perhaps harshly, but it's not outside the bounds to say that this guy could have died and he shot two of them. Now he then takes it a step further. The third one runs away. He chases him down, shoots him in the back, and basically murders him. So the third one is certainly vigilantism gone crazy and is over the line. He was no longer in danger of his own life, and he's then killed the guy. But that's basically where his violence comes from. Anyone he thinks has wronged him, and again, maybe they haven't, maybe it's all in his mind, but anyone he thinks has wronged him, he kills them, which is a harsh penalty, but he's not randomly killing strangers for no reason, and he's not killing people to enrich himself. He's not committing crimes like robbing banks and shooting security guards or anything like that at all. He's attacking people he thinks are being bad to society, and so from that point of view, you could say that he is the protagonist of the film. He's not an anti-hero. He's the hero in the film. And again, you could call him the Punisher, or maybe Judge Dredd. He's basically acting the same way, or if you want to go for a more outlandish film, he's really acting no differently to any Arnold Schwarzenegger film or any Van Damme film. He's got some guys he thinks are bad guys, and he kills them. Now, it's not too often that those guys are going to kill anyone else in return. That's where the disconnect might be. His punishment is quite high. It's death, where they're not perhaps killing anyone in return. Although again, when they're kicking him on the ground, I think it's very plausible to say that he could have died from that, and shooting him in that circumstance seemed to be fairly justified. Now, he's wearing his clown outfit at the time, and so the descriptions that go out in the news reports that someone dressed up as a clown has killed these three people, and they're three bankers, they're three wealthy people. So there's a lot of sympathy in the general 99% of the community towards this person who's decided to, quote unquote, stick up for them and, kill some bankers. Now, they don't know, in no way is reported that these people were kicking him and maybe kicking him to death. So it's not reported as, again, a sort of justified self-defense. The people that are sympathetic towards it are saying, no, good, you've killed these people that we think deserve to die. So there's a lot of hatred, fairly contemporary nowadays to sort of similar sort of feelings in our general society right now towards the elite or the wealthy or the bankers and so on, that a lot of people are like, yeah, if they got killed, good, the world will be better without bankers and so on. So that's another main part of the movie, main sort of undertone of it. And they start dressing up, or mobs of people start dressing up with clown masks on, and it has a very Antifa feel to it. They're not wearing the black masks, but it's the same sort of thing. They're calling people fascists, and they're obviously happy that some of them were killed. And again, it's very contemporary in today's society with sort of, again, kind of vigilante tones of, well, if you call someone a Nazi and it's perfectly fine to punch a Nazi, then you can punch anyone you want as long as you call them a Nazi first, or take the next step to say shoot him. Surely you're not going to justify not killing a Nazi, so if that person's a Nazi, we should be able to kill a Nazi. But the whole judge, jury, executioner thing, that's where we have a big problem with vigilantism. The film is based in Gotham City. It in no way needed to be. It does have Bruce Wayne's father in there. He's still alive, and Bruce Wayne's mother's still alive. Batman's mother and father are still alive. Batman, or Bruce Wayne, makes a little bit of a cameo. It's not shoehorned in. It is in there for a reason. But at the same time, he didn't have to be in there. Again, this doesn't have to have anything to do with the DC Universe at all. This film is just a standalone film about a guy who dresses up as a clown. It doesn't need to be connected to Batman or the Joker or anything like that. Now, having said that, it's probably a brilliant marketing move, and this is what all the studios do. They want to hook a film into another film because then people have heard of it and they'll go see it, or they'll talk about it and so on. I guess the only downside would be if you're an actual fan of the Joker, this is a different take on it. You probably will come away saying, that's not my Joker, or whatever seems to happen nowadays when they look at characters in a different way. But I don't know how many people actually are fans of the Joker, maybe Batman fans, but the Joker, being a fan of him, is maybe a little bit different. But I don't think it had to be that. The film loses nothing by ripping all of that stuff out, except it loses its marketing appeal, perhaps. So that's obviously why it has to remain in there. But it has nothing really to do with Batman. It has nothing to do with Gotham City. It has nothing to do with the Joker. All of that could be removed, but it is still in there. And I don't think it hurts the film for being in there either, but it just doesn't have to be there. So once again, I wouldn't recommend this movie unless you like this particular type of movie. If you're a Batman fan, you like the Batman movies, this film's got nothing really to do with any of those films, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying you can't like two different types of films. That's fine. You could like all the Batman movies and you could like this. But you're not going to like this because you like the Batman movies. These are not the same type of movies. You might want to talk about, the Dark Knight and so on, the Nolan trilogy. That's a darker version. It's still a superhero movie. It's still something that won't really happen. It's a fantasy. This isn't fantasy. This is drama. This is very realistic. But if you like that sort of thing, again, it's a really good example of that, and you should go check it out. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.